It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Great to have you in studio with us once again. Good to have you along. Al Cornell back in studio. Al, good to see you as always.
Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming back.
Hope I can help.
It's that time of the year.
Yes.
Right? Twice a year I think we have you come in. Once in the summer, once in the fall. Talk about safe hiking.
Yeah.
And we're getting to be that time. I've noticed more and more stories coming about rescues taking place. People that are getting stuck out in the middle of nowhere and needing our help to get back to safety. So let's start right there. I mean, how many have you been on a lot of rescues this year? Or are we doing pretty good?
We're doing pretty good. It's you know, it hadn't been a heavy spring for the rescues. There's been a few. Cathedral Rock, of course, is always a site of a rescue now and then.
I guess we have had a couple there, haven't we?
We haven't had a major operation since the one over the Christmas holidays.
Right.
For the Thomas Lang search. That very unfortunate situation there, but.
Should we talk about that a little bit? I know
Sure.
it was the winter time, but it was still a search that went on for days upon days upon days.
It went on for 5 days.
Right.
It went on through Christmas Day and the day after. And after 5 days of literally, I would say minimum 50 up to 100 people a day out there searching. And a well-managed search by deputies from the Coconino County and deputies from Yavapai worked together, because the search area kind of strayed into both counties. And actually he was dropped off to start his hike in Coconino, and he ended up going, we think, into what is now, into Yavapai County, up in the Dry Creek Basin area. And so both counties worked together very, very well on that.
I suppose we should mention this was in Oak Creek Canyon, where the whole thing started.
That's where it started.
Right.
But we think he hiked in on Sterling Pass, which leads you into the Dry Creek Basin area, which is now you're in Yavapai County.
Right.
And that basin just a number of major trails in there, and then apparently his intention was to just get off on his own. Be by himself, be alone, and my understanding, part of the briefings were that he was also going to be on a 4-day fast. And so we did not find any clues at all to him. And you look for...
Is that unusual?
Well, no, I guess not. I guess not, because there was such a delay before we start looking for him. We'd been in there 4 or 5 days before we started. I think he got dropped off on a Wednesday morning, and we didn't start searching till Sunday night.
Right, when he was supposed to be back by then.
Sunday night, it was just a matter of get in there quickly, be very active as searchers, blow your whistles, things like that. Hopefully you can hear him respond. He may be laying there with a broken ankle or something, and we've had those kind of searches where you go in and just start blowing your whistles every 1/10 of a mile, and sure enough, you hear a little voice out of the woods say, "Help, help," and you go over, and there they are. We've had a number of those. And then that was Sunday night, and Monday morning, it was a full effort, right through to Christmas and the day after. And that was an interesting search in that we integrated civilians, non-SAR trained people, search and rescue trained people, into our units that had volunteered from Flagstaff because they knew him. Some were high school classmates and other families that knew their family, and I was very pleased with how well that worked, by the way. I was on one effort with 5 people from Flagstaff, and there were, I think, 4 of us, and they really multiplied our effort, like a manpower multiplier, because we had an assignment that day which included a lot of canyons to search, and we would not have been able to do it with the 4 of us. But the 5 of them also, we divided up, and we got a lot covered. So I was very pleased with the using civilians to help us out on that.
How do you even start a search like that back in there? Because I don't think people realize just how rugged it is. It's extremely rugged back in there.
Yeah.
Easy to disappear.
Yes, and especially if you're looking for someone who wanted to stay away, wanted to kind of be on their own, get away from the main trails and all of that. Oh yeah, very difficult. The best you can do is follow all the trails possible and do other logical things. Hike in places where it might really be fun to do, like over slick rock and things like that, and constantly be making noise, constantly be blowing those whistles, hoping he'll respond. If he's not going to respond, then you're going to have to almost step on him to find him,
right?
Because of the brush and stuff. But we flooded all the trails, and then a number of us flooded teams into canyons where he might have walked to get away. And I remember one day on a search I was on, we actually went into an area called the Cave of Many Hands, which is not on the map, and it's up a canyon that's not a trail. But people do go up there, and then we went over to the top and hiked across a lot of slick rock that day, and gave us a lot of view and a lot of area to cover. Yeah, that's about the best you can do. Yeah.
When do you decide we can't find him? How does that even come about?
That's a decision by the deputies.
Right.
We search.
It's going to be a tough one too.
Yes, it's very tough. It's very tough. But if they have no clues to go on. Now, on the fourth or fifth day, if we had found something, like a piece of equipment that belonged to him or something, then the deputies would now move all the effort into that area and really, really overload that area with search.
Sure.
But we found nothing to allow them to do that. Nothing at all. Anything, even a food bar that might have been his, or an empty water bottle or something, would focus a search. Even if you're not sure it was him, a fresh food bar wrapper. I'm positive the deputies would have said, hey, we got to really search this area. Even if it was on the last day, they would have extended the search and we'd have searched that area. That's where you want to start looking then. Somebody was here. Somebody ate a food bar and they're here somewhere.
Right.
But we had nothing at all.
Crazy.
Kind of reminds you of the David Miller search back in '98. We searched 5 days for him before they pulled the plug. Could not find a single clue for David Miller. Not one clue. Couldn't find where he camped the first night.
Now, who's David Miller? Which one?
He was a ranger that went on a three-day camp out on his own, signed in at the Voltiarch trailhead, and was never seen again. His vehicle was still there. 4 days later, we started looking for him on he was supposed to report back to work on a Friday morning, did not. I went with some forest rangers out to the parking lot, and there was his car. And we did a little quickie search while they notified the deputies and Yavapai. And then from that day on, we had 5 days of searching for him. Never found the night he did his first campfire. And he was up there on a 3-day backpack. You'd think we would have found, but he had gone to Knowles, that outdoor leadership survival school. So he knew about leave no trace, and he was probably very good at that. And, and he left no trace. Yeah, that was very unfortunate.
Is it hard to disappear out there? Get lost out there and just vanish?
Yeah, if something happens to you, yes.
It can happen.
Yes, because it's so rugged out there.
Right, pretty quick, right?
If you fell and broke a leg and no one knew you were there, that's the other thing. That's one of the deadly sins that we say, don't violate. Let someone know where you're going and your path and all of that. If David Miller had told somebody, the guy he was rooming with, for example, in the Forest Service, he was living out at the Forest Service-owned ranch house at the V-Bar V Petroglyph site. If he'd only told his roommate out there, look, I'm going to go into Voltiarch, I'm going to go on top, I'm going to go up East Pocket, come around this way. If you don't hear from me, that's what I did. But a lot of times people don't do that. And Lang didn't do it because I don't think he wanted anyone to know where he was.
Right, he's going to be by himself. Fasting thing, right?
Yeah. Miller didn't do it, and I'm not sure why. Maybe just lack of experience, because he'd only been in the Forest Service here 5 weeks, right out of college. And if either one of them had said what their intentions were, they were going to go and stick to that plan, they would have been found.
Right.
That's the first thing you do, is follow the plan someone leaves behind.
Well, there's our first rule right there. We got to take our first break already, okay?
Okay.
Al Cornell's in studio. He's with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue. He's a volunteer. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Lonnie had huge aspirations.
He knew he could get pills in the community.
He found his body in an apartment in Telford.
I never thought my son would take prescription drugs without a prescription.
Secure your medications and talk with your kids. Visit drugfree.org.
Wake the sun, yeah. me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
I would steal pills from my friend's mom.
We talk about all the common drugs, but never prescription medication.
I was addicted to pills.
Had I more knowledge, I would have done things differently.
Secure your medications and talk with your kids. Visit drugfree.org.
A single ember from a wildfire can travel over a mile. That ember can ignite and destroy your home or community. You can't control where that ember will land. Only what happens before it does. Visit fireadapted.org to learn how you can help protect your community from wildfires.
Welcome back to Countywide. Al Cornell in studio today. We're talking about safe summer hiking. With the hot temperatures here, people are going outside more. We've talked about numerous rescues on the air. We talked about one of the deadly sins just before the last break is if you're going to go on a hike, make sure you tell somebody where you're going and then stick with that plan and when you're going to be back. So that's number one.
Yeah.
Now there's 4 others. We should probably hit those.
Okay.
Give me another one.
Well, one is know the weather.
Know the weather.
And, that's more a serious consideration in the wintertime, but still in the summer. You go out for a hike, you need to know it's going to be 105 that day, not 98. That's a big difference.
Especially July through September with the monsoon.
Definitely.
If you're not from this area and you're walking out there and you have one of those here.
Know the weather. Don't hike Humphreys in the afternoon in July if it's you got thunderstorms. You know, it's a dangerous thing to do. So know the weather. Another and a really big one is know your limitations. And that's, a lot of people are very cavalier about that. They come up here from Phoenix and other places, and they're in an urban society where they don't do a lot of physical activity. Then they come up and decide to hike, and they get out there and they really overload themselves. And they don't understand limitations of children, limitation of pets. It's really sad to see a mountain biker racing down the Highline Trail, for example, and this dog running behind him, just panting its heart out. And because the owner thinks that because that dog's got 4 feet and can run, it can do more than he can, and they can't. We go on a summer search with search dogs. They're good for a couple hours, and you have to bring them in. They can't handle the heat. They can't sweat like we do.
What should I be looking for?
Pardon?
What should I be looking for in my dog?
Oh, heavy panting. That's right off the bat. When the dog starts panting, and every time you stop, even if you're doing a light hike or a paced hike, a comfortable hike, it'll still be too much for a dog in the heat. And they'll immediately, every time you start to slow down, they'll go over and lay down under a shade. And then you go a little bit further, you can see they're a little reluctant to follow you. And then they finally follow you because they love you. And then you stop again and they immediately go over and lay down in some shade. And sometimes they'll even dig in the dirt to try to find cooler dirt. But the panting, that's the only way. Well, they do sweat a little bit through their paws, but their main way of releasing excess heat, body heat, from over-exercise. Because we get heat from 2 ways. Internally from metabolic heat, and externally from the environment. And the only way they can get rid of this environmental heat, because their body temperature is already higher than ours to start with, and then they get this fur coat they have to haul around. And then they got a cavalier owner that's dragging them many, many miles without being able to sweat. The only way they can do it, they just pant. That's the only way. Respiration is how they get rid of their heat. And they just can't get rid of it fast enough.
What about our kids? What should we be looking for in our kids?
Children will run out of energy sooner, and they'll get beet red, and they'll get cranky, irritable, and you just need to, they just can't even do half, especially smaller children, 6, 7, 8 years old, 5 years old. They can't do even half of what an unprepared adult can do, put it like that.
Okay.
And yet I see families going for hikes with 3 and 4 kids, toddlers. as if it's going to be okay. They're going to go for a 3-mile hike. It's 105, and oh yeah, we're going to go from the parking lot down to Bell Rock and back, and like that lady I talked about last time with the 2 kids, no water, 105, 2 children, they were beet red, and when I looked at them, I knew the 2 kids were in extremis right away. And she's their mother and looks at them and can't see it. I was just stunned.
Boggling, huh?
Yeah, I convinced her to turn around and go back to the car, and you should have seen the kids' faces when they turned around.
Thank you, sir.
Oh God,
yeah.
It was like an angel had descended on them and saved their lives.
Right.
I don't know whether they're probably good kids because they probably weren't whining, but you could see they were really suffering.
Do I know my limitations? I should know my limitations, right?
You should know, yes.
Yeah.
And the best way to find them really is to be prepared when you go on a hike and then see what your limitations are. A good limitation right now is to go out and start acclimating. The Army's had a good acclimation program. It starts out the first day when the heat starts, and if you're in an area below 105, which is most of us, go out for an hour late morning and an hour in the afternoon for a physical activity, a hike. And then don't do then just normal activities, you know, away from the heat the rest of the time. Second day, an hour and a half. Third day, 2 hours, morning and afternoon. And then you can add the 4th day, 3 hours, morning and afternoon. And go for, in other words, a 6-hour hike and take a lunch break in the middle in the shade. And then you're in pretty good shape. You've probably increased your ability to give off body heat by sweat onto some light cotton shirt, and then had over. Let me get back to being in Arizona. In about 4 or 5 days, your acclimation is your ability is doubled.
I didn't know you could do that.
Oh yeah, doubled. It's amazing how you can get your sweat glands going, because they're kind of dormant. And we got
makes sense.
Estimated over 2 million sweat glands on our body, and a lot of them just lay dormant because we're not out there using them all the time.
Right.
And the more you're in a building like this, working for a living, is the less you're ever using them. And then you have air conditioning and all these modern things. But I was going to say, we're so lucky to be in Arizona. Because in Arizona, when you go out and you acclimate, or you go out on a hike and you are acclimated and you sweat, your sweat will soak up a cotton shirt, and then it's so dry out there that it will evaporate and take heat off you.
Right.
In the level of kcals. I mean, lots of heat will leave your body. You go to the jungles of Vietnam, and you're out there as a soldier and walking through those jungles at 98, 99% humidity, your body can't give off that heat. It drops off in water, and so it's very inefficient. So we're so lucky to be in Arizona in a dry climate. I mean, they say it's a dry heat. Well, that's true, because that dryness allows our bodies to get rid of this heat through evaporation so much more efficiently. We're really lucky to be here for that reason.
Yeah, we'll take another break already. Al Cornell's in studio today. He's a volunteer with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
One of the areas still maturing in an adolescent brain is the prefrontal cortex. So when we take drugs, we alter key motivational circuits, changing the wiring needed for the cognitive function of the brain, until we can't totally deal with things like memory, thinking things out, and even learning stuff.
The signs are there. So is our help. Visit the partnership at drugfree.org for practical advice on coping with teen drug use.
when you're out there. There's no telling what you'll find.
I see it! I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. A few minutes left in the program. Al's going to give us some preventative tips on what we can do when we've talked about this before. You know, you're just going out on a quick hike, but you never know what's going to happen while you're on the hike. So what are some of the things I should be doing outside of the first one, making sure people know where I am, where I'm going?
Yeah, and prevention's the key. It's so much easier to prevent heat exhaustion or going into a heat stroke than it is to treat it after to mitigate it once it's started. So much easier. One thing, longer term, is be in good shape. Be in good physical shape. You know, when summer comes, you know, take off some of those pounds because they'll hurt you. And the other is acclimate. Get out there and do 3 or 4 days of acclimation, and then you'd be surprised how good you're going to be. Then on the day of a hike, hydrate. When I go on a search or a hike, I hydrate at least a quart of liquid before I get out of the car. Okay. And sometimes I can actually get up to a half a gallon, and that's automatic with me. Automatic, and it's like carrying an extra water bottle in your body that you can't fit in your pack.
Camel up.
And yes, yeah, it's a good way to put. I like that. Camel up, like put a hump on your back. Yeah. Make it and then bring water and bring extra water. Don't rely on these ideas that you're going to find it in the woods or you're going to find it in, you know, don't drink cactus. You'll die quicker. Don't think you're going to make a solar still. Those are ridiculous ideas that most good survivor instructors will immediately put the thumb on. Bring water, extra water. Be clothed properly. A nice big hat to protect yourself. Bring a thin tarp with you if you need to rig shade up. If you're in an area and you can't get any shade, rig some shade. Pace yourself. Nice, slow. Enjoy the hike. You're out there because you want to enjoy the hike. Pace yourself. Go nice and easy. And take lots of breaks. Lots of breaks. Some people call it the 20-40 rule. Hike for 40 minutes, take 20-minute break. Relax, have a nice drink.
Snacks?
Yeah, salty snacks are good to have. It keeps your electrolytes up. Very good idea.
Hat?
Yeah, sunscreen maybe, but I always wear a big, in fact I have one here, nice big full brim hat like that. Also shirts are important. I wear UV. This is for searching, a UV shirt, and this is a hiking shirt. And even in the shade, or not in the shade, but the fact that your shirt is shaded by cotton, UV can penetrate cotton into your skin.
Okay.
So I'm really a big fan of UV shirts also. And loose fitting, light color is better. And
shoes. Let's get to shoes.
Yes.
I hear a lot about flip-flops.
Yeah.
And this is a horrible place to be walking around flip-flops when you're on a hike.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Every plant out there could possibly kill you, it seems like.
One of my more recent searches last fall was a lady, and it was the middle of the night when we found her and her husband, and she was in flip-flops. And I was just stunned. You could be out there hiking around in flip-flops in the Red Rock country.
Should be a good sturdy boot rugged. Or tennis shoe or something solid,
people get cavalier, and they get out of their car, and they think they're in Disneyland or Disney World, you know, and just going to walk down a trail, and then they went to another trail and another one, and they just kind of kept going, and they got on the wrong trail, and then they got on a trail that wasn't a trail, and then they ended up calling 911. Thank God they had a cell phone.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, you got to be smart, and you got to be prepared. And a way to prepare every day is hydrate when you show up, and make sure you have the right clothing and have some extra water. And if extra water does two things. It gives you peace of mind. If the hike is becoming more than you want, it gives you peace of mind that you've got extra to take care of it. And if the hike's going really well, you can take some of that water and put it in your hat every so often. And as it evaporates off, it cools your head, cools your brain pack up there. And sometimes I enough to put it on my shoulders and let the water drip down my shirt and evaporate off along with the sweat. And it feels great. Yeah.
We're out of time. Cell phone would be a good thing too, right?
Yeah.
Al, always great to see you.
Oh, always carry a cell phone.
Thanks for coming in. That's today's Countywide. We will talk to you again next time.